3, going live, going live, going live. It says we're live, even though it can't show me the preview of anything.
Hmm.
It's being kinda stupid that way, I guess. Anyways, hello everybody, and welcome to our podcast. I am Tony Sixwing, your host, as usual, and this is my co-host here, Laura Quinting. Today we're going to be talking about activities you can do while you're stuck at home under quarantine.
Yes. So, would you like to go first?
The only activities I can think of are card games, Monopoly, and video games.
And that, my friends, is why he is single.
I'm single by choice, thank you very much.
So if you want more ideas, because apparently he has none, see, in times like these, if you look at on a historical basis, when large apocalyptic happenings happen to come with viruses and sickness and stuff, and everyone is quarantined, it's a time when lots of things get invented.
I guess you can work on invention. Granted, personally, I'd be working on ways to get out of dodging the fact that this does become an apocalyptic situation.
Yes.
But I was trying to lighten the mood.
Yeah. That's true. And this is supposed to be a lighthearted video. So, there's this coffee drink hack that is trending right now. So basically what you do is, it's supposed to be like a reverse latte in a way. So you take your favorite milk, put some ice in it, and then to make the coffee part, you take instant ground coffee, some hot water, and some sugar. You like whisk it together, and it like ends up being like really like frothy. I can't speak. And then
frothy.
You mix it in. Frothy, yes. You mix it into the milk, and it makes something that resembles a latte / iced coffee. And that, weirdly enough, has been all I see on TikTok right now when it comes to food / drink. So people have been doing that. Another thing you could do is you could paint. A lot of people are painting on there. People like to play instruments. That's still a thing. You could read. What me and said significant other did today is we ended up taking a nice walk outside. There's a trail that's by our apartment complex that's good for not only your calves and heartbeat, but sometimes it gets a bit too stuffy in your apartment / house, so sometimes you need to get that fresh air.
Yes, and everyone, do make sure to somehow have something else to do than the obvious, because we do not need the quarantiners to come about in 13 years.
Yes, that is very, very true. And in lieu of the situation, but I would say that's one of the last things I would want to do as people are getting sick. So.
Yeah, and also you don't want to have, if you're a guy, you don't want to get your girl knocked up and then this shit does go get out of hand and you're trying to move with a pregnant lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
as in, this is not an appropriate time for the hanky-panky.
Yes. So, make sure the Netflix and chill is just Netflixing and chilling.
And if you can't help yourself, make sure you use the condom and she's on birth control.
But that is another thing I have been told people do. I guess if you don't live in the same area as, like, your friends, like, on a statewide basis and stuff like that, people have been doing Netflix parties, which I didn't know were a thing. Or, like, they do board games, but like an online version, and they'll all play that way. That's kind of interesting.
I think But how would you watch Netflix together when you're not in the same place? I feel like there'd be lag and other logistical errors. I mean, what? Do you all say, okay, we're going to hit play at the same time? Or does someone stream it over their video chat with a phone or something, but then that would violate terms of service, so I don't get it.
It's more so like they're all using like their own like Netflix account and stuff, but they're kind of just watching the same movie like in a way together, if that makes sense.
So essentially they're all finding the same movie and then someone's saying, okay, everyone hit play in 3, 2, 1.
Yes. So like the party part is more so like, hey, oh, I liked that scene too. Like, you know, it was good. Like, what do you think of it? Type of thing. It's like if you were an introvert and you went to a movie theater, that would be kind of how you do it.
An introvert wouldn't go to a movie theater.
Well, yeah, but it's more so what I find interesting is like the introverts are like, oh, well, like, you know, this is great, and then now they're saying, oh my god, I fucking hate this. It's like they're bored, and I feel like the thing is,
No, introverts on board. It's just everyone else is home too.
Well, yeah, that's true. But like it's different than being introverted, because at least when you're introverted, like I'm not very introverted, but I know how to hang out with myself. And when you have like when your world changes in the fact where you can no longer go to the places that you were being introverted by hanging out with yourself, then you have to adjust to being stuck hanging out with yourself in your home.
Oh, yeah. And,
which is not the same thing.
Oh, I hate to harsh the mood, but also I received word today that will be shutting down by midnight tomorrow.
From what I was told, Gretchen Whitmer has no plans of shutting down Michigan, is what I was told.
You do realize they're not going to tell you about those plans till a day before they happen, right?
You're, like, lagging for some reason. Like, your voice is not...
Can you hear me now?
No.
Hello?
Okay, now I can.
Huh.
It was doing that weird echoey thing.
My YouTube is getting a strange buffer thing. I think there's something up with my internet today.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Go on with what you were saying about before.
Yeah, they're not going to tell you until a couple days beforehand to a few hours beforehand before they shut stuff down.
And what I'm confused is, so I was researching a little bit because I do have YouTube friends that do not live near me. A couple of them live in California. They have told me that larger areas for sure are shut down, but right now it's like taking a little bit to get the smaller areas in California to be completely shut down. But they have gotten military personnel to be issuing tickets for people who specifically have to get out for like work purposes, grocery purposes, whatever. Is that what a shutdown looks like?
Kind of. That's the first beginning stages. What we need to all remember is this is just stage 1 of the entire situation. Because this is a pandemic situation, and in these scenarios, it doesn't all escalate within like a month to, okay, we're doing this, nothing more is going to happen. Everyone seems to think, oh, it's stopping here. Oh, it's all so bad right now. We must be getting towards the peak. Nope. We are still very much in the beginning stages of this crisis.
Right, and like what people don't realize is like China just now has no cases, but at the same time they've been battling it since like December. As well as, like, people are like, oh my gosh, I'm, like, so bored, this sucks. I'm like,
and they're going to get...
you guys, like, Michigan has been quarantined for, like, not even a week, basically.
Here's the thing. China will say they have no cases, and all of a sudden something's going to pop up out of China there's another case. I can guarantee you that China does not have 0 more cases of this.
Yeah, it struck me as strange. I know Italy's getting hit hard right now.
It's called, this is China we're talking about.
Yeah.
They want to look good. In fact, they tried to cover at the beginning of this to make themselves look good. And now it turns out that Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, is blocking the new stimulus package because it doesn't have super expensive unemployment insurance in it. So instead of going ahead and getting these checks out to everyone and then negotiating more later, just get as much done, pass one thing after another to expand stuff, she wants everything all at once in one bill. And it's slowing down relief for people that could really use it. Because it's not the relief she thinks they should have.
So are they is it for sure about the $1,000 checks, or is that just a rumor?
Oh, it's supposed to be a $1,200 check now.
$1,200? Does it change if you have kids?
If you have kids, it's $500 a kid.
Okay, and does it change if you have a small business or you make a certain amount of money?
I think it does a little bit, yes. If you make
and that's confirmed that we get this.
Not confirmed yet because they won't pass the damn thing. The House is stopping it up. They're Democrats.
Why are they stopping it? Just because they're not?
They're
Republican
playing
or something?
politics. They're playing politics in Washington because none of them care about us one iota. All this fighting's about who gets to win the next election. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Yeah, all this fighting's about who gets to win the next election. And actually, the Democrats said before they want a recession in order to oust Trump. So instead of actually coming up with good ideas and defeating him with principled, good, being honest, decent human beings, they decided they're going to go the way of make everyone lose their jobs. Because in a recession, people will vote Democrat.
I don't understand how not getting people's money at a timely manner is helping anything, because at this point, if
they're also releasing prisoners from prisons to prevent them from getting infected. They're early releasing people. Mostly the Democrats are creating chaos. And more chaos because they want to oust the current administration in November. Here's the thing, though. At a certain point, that chaos cannot be put back into the bottle.
See, what I'm not understanding to me is, I always find that everyone's under the impression that they're going to get this check, and if they, prolong this, I've heard some rumors of people saying, people aren't going to be able to go to school till, September, we have to extend this way further than April.
And when September hits, we might see the second wave of this.
And I'm just at that point, not to say that this, isn't a pandemic that is very serious and people should be staying at home, but at that point, once September hits, the virus, yes, could in fact still be serious, but you are not going to be able to have a bunch of people be sitting ducks for that long. A revolt would probably happen at that point.
The class of society is already happening in certain areas. Certain areas have already seen riots, small-scale riots and looting.
Where?
Larger cities, mostly. Isolated instance, not on the news. I've just
I haven't seen that.
I just heard from some people on some groups and other things who live in some areas, members of the prepping community, the doomsday prepper people. One of them I follow said that the government's is preparing to be able to ride out this wave, but they're really worried about the next wave in the fall. Because if we look back in time, respiratory viruses, you can get them in the summer, but they're much more prevalent in the fall, winter, and spring.
Yeah.
Months, and if you look, the Spanish flu receded during the summer, but then twice as many people got sick and twice as many people died. And already 13,000 people have died with this pandemic in the last 5 months.
All right.
Since December.
And it's mostly been old and newborns, or has it been a decent variety?
This thing's starting to get more variety. Younger people are starting to die of this. First it was the old, but now the younger people are starting to die of it too.
Because from what I was told, some people were saying, oh, well, like, haha, basically everyone had it, they just didn't realize it. And I was like, no, you had the regular flu because from people that, like, I know who have said that they had it, it is 10 times, probably 100 times worse than the actual flu. Like, you feel like shit. Like, you can't drink anything, you can't eat anything. It is the worst possible thing you could, like, have to deal
And
with.
here's the thing: coronavirus and different forms have been around for a long time. And actually, I'm wondering if when I was 11, if I had a similar virus to this, because the way they talk about these symptoms and everything, can't breathe, and some people having gastrointestinal difficulties with it. I'm wondering if when I had the 103, 104-degree fever when I was 11, I supposedly had the stomach flu and influenza at the same time if I had this type of thing, an earlier version of it, which...
I definitely had the stomach flu before, but see, and like the numbers that people are saying, like they can't test people fast enough, so the numbers definitely aren't true.
And they just restricted testing to fewer people being able to get tested.
Why would they do that?
Because resources are limited, and
Oh,
the medical is at the breaking point. Because what you don't understand is, what people do not understand is, it's not just coronavirus. They're still dealing with people who come in with seasonal influenza, pneumonia from the flu, which they have to use those same tools for the pneumonia from the coronavirus to go after, and other things that they're having to try to decide who gets the antibiotics to fight the secondary infection in the lungs and try to keep them alive, and who doesn't. They're
right.
having to do
And
triage, and they don't have enough supplies. And here's the thing: at a certain point, when the doctors start to realize that they cannot get enough supplies to protect themselves, some of these doctors are going to start abandoning their patients.
that's true. And what's tough is like while the cases for corona are exponentially growing, what a lot of people are dealing with right now, especially being in their homes like almost constantly, is like with all the dust and shit being around, like um me and my significant other have dealt with like a little bit of sniffles, runny nose, stuff like that, because us not being outside is causing our immune systems to die out to an extent.
That's not necessarily true, but I can tell you this right now: because of my digestive condition, my stomach condition, I get gas to the point that it tickles the back of my throat, and so instead of belching, I start coughing and hacking, and it is a dry cough. So I'm watching for a fever because they're saying dry cough for this, but I always have a dry cough, especially when I have a lot of gas, because it tickles the top of my throat and makes me get that gag reflex.
Yeah, I have a bad gag reflex too.
And that's the thing. This thing has so many different symptoms that you think you might have it no matter who you are.
Right, it's so easy to get. Like, when I go to sleep and it's like a certain temperature, what I've noticed is like my mouth when I wake up in the morning gets really dry. So I cough because my mouth is dry and I need like, water.
Yeah, and because your mouth is dry, it becomes a dry cough.
Yes.
So that's the thing. But it doesn't mean you have coronavirus.
Right, but a lot of people who are getting these small symptoms like coughing, sneezing, stuffy nose, they all basically think they have it.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing: the economic impact is far outweighing the actual people getting sick. Despite the fact in places like Italy, where they did lock the entire country down, they've been having trouble getting people to stay in place because people are scared. People need supplies. They're talking about using the National Guard to lock down places and try to distribute some supplies. Here's the thing: what we really need to do right now is the government needs to completely shut down the stock exchange until the end of this crisis. They need to freeze all trading until this has abated to stop it from going down any further.
I know that they've definitely made some significant changes. Like when I did my Amazon orders, I don't think that they're doing 2 day shipping anymore. It's like non-essential items you have to wait longer on.
Now, since my Prime shipping won't even get it to me in less than 4 or 5 days, and actually non-essential items, some of them ought be accepted into the warehouse for Amazon. So these places that are selling to you through Amazon actually have to find someone else to ship it to you. Another warehouse
Yeah.
to ship it to you. Or ship it
Um,
themselves.
and I'm not entirely sure. I know Whitmer had like edited what places can be considered open. I think she was thinking of having nail salons and hair places closed, but I'm not entirely sure on that.
I think they have closed. The thing is, here's the thing. Ohio shuts down tomorrow, so I'm kind of afraid of going into work tomorrow and work telling me that since Ohio has been closed down, that the Whirlpool, because my work does work for Whirlpool, factory will be shut down because of this. And if that happens, most of my plant will be shut down because they keep the lights on in my plant.
But you work at Whirlpool?
No, I work for a company that works for Whirlpool.
Oh, okay. Because I
They're,
was gonna say Whirlpool is like one of the biggest companies for like fridges and stuff.
we make parts for their washing machines, and that is all I will
Oh,
say.
okay, gotcha.
But they are our biggest contract. They're the ones who keep the lights on.
Right.
So if they're not running and they're not taking orders from us, we at minimum have to do extreme scale back. But we also make canisters and those green lids for hospital. You know those green lidded canisters in hospitals for liquids and whatnot? We make
Yeah.
we mold those in the plastic injection molding and send them off to medical. So at the very least, that'll probably still be running. So some people will be there because the government will come in and say, hey, you have to produce this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
I think what people are ignorant towards is like people think that we can just wait this out when that's not the case at all. Like,
we can't wait it out. The economy, it's already hit recession. We're about to go into depression area here. And with the lack of knowledge of subsistence living and living without all these great and expensive things, I don't know how a society is going to stay together. I mean, this is supposed to be a lighthearted video, but really getting into the meat of what's going on, there's only so much lightheartedness you can put in. I mean, I'm seeing here and there, something here, something there that's, giving us a little bit of hope, but like they're pushing to say, oh, we found these things that are really promising, but they haven't even finished a real clinical trial. The trial is 40 patients, and they might have recovered on their own. We don't even know if the meds is what did it.
right.
And I get why they're saying this stuff. They're trying to give hope, but one person asked what the president, I saw one interview, one press conference with Trump, and one reporter was asking to all these people, there's all these people who are scared, what would you say to them? And he said, I would tell them you're a terrible reporter. I'm like, he's definitely mishandling the situation, but to be quite honest, I think everyone in the government is mishandling this situation. I don't think there's a single branch of government, federal, state, local, any part of it that is handling this situation appropriately or with any sense of intelligence.
See, what I am under the impression of, like, yeah, you give people, these $1,000 checks and whatever. I think people are realizing, I mean, the small bit of hope that I find in this whole ordeal is, like, people are a lot more appreciative of what they did have. Like, a lot of, like, students and stuff, they're like, oh my gosh, I hate school, it sucks, blah, blah, blah. But it was school that was keeping these people sane, on schedule, going towards something, and now, like, you have all these people that are just like, well, shit, like, I don't think I hated school. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. This entire thing is a wake-up call for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think that in the event that we do come out of this, on the other hand, end with our society intact, with ourselves intact, and I'm not going to say that we're definitely going to be going back to, anarchy and all that, where the lights go out and whatnot. I'm not saying that at all. It's a possibility. It's a kind of I wouldn't call it a slim possibility. I call it a not as likely as other things happening possibility. But I do believe in that event, I do believe the idea of becoming debt-free, making yourself self-sufficient, making to where you are prepared for the next emergency will become much more prevalent in this country. Because even back in the 2008 recession, yeah, it was bad, and some people lost their homes and whatnot, but we weren't shutting down every business by government order.
Right. And like the thing is, people are like, "Oh yeah, like gas is so cheap, like blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Okay, well,
It's cheap because nobody's going anywhere.
right." And I'm sure when this gets like more serious, like they'll have like blocked off areas where you cannot travel out of this specific area or
Here's the thing: the
stuff
government
like
has
that.
already, people in the government have already come out and said that this is going to get worse before it gets better.
Right.
And what that means is burglaries, looting, fights in the grocery stores. Which is why, granted, some people are trying to tell me don't go panic buy, don't buy a lot of this, don't buy a lot of that. But that's why I kind of want to find a way to buy some bulk stuff, because in the event that that does happen, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that's kind of the path we're heading down here. Hopefully, we can, divert ourselves before it gets that bad. But at that point, I don't want to be anywhere near a store.
Right.
Because if they do shut everything down except to go to the grocery store, the only place people are going to be is the grocery store, and they're going to be there every hour that it's open. And when everyone's there every hour that it's open, which is already kind of happening, but thankfully some stuff is still open enough for them to still kind of, some people go to work and whatnot to try to keep some people out of having everyone at the store at once. But when everyone's at the store at once with very few resources, you've seen it on Black Friday, people get trampled over Christmas presents. What do you think people are going to do over food and toiletries?
Right. Because like right now, at least when I went, it wasn't that bad. Like, yeah, there was a lot of people buying groceries, and now they put the tape down that you got to be a couple feet away due to this new mandate. Well, at least in my area, we had a decent amount of other stuff open. Obviously, not restaurants; they were only doing carry out and stuff. But there's still other stuff. But now, as more and more businesses are closing, like
And
GameStop right now is closed. Bed Bath and Beyond is supposed to be closed
GameStop
for at least
wasn't
the next 2 weeks.
GameStop wasn't going to close. They were going to declare themselves essential. And actually, I think Bed Bath and Beyond, or at least Bath and Body Works, should remain open because they have
Bed
hand
Bath and Beyond,
sanitizers and hand soaps and stuff. Bed Bath and Beyond, I was thinking wrong. They're just a bathroom appliance and kitchen goods store.
yeah.
But like I was thinking Bath and Body Works. Sorry.
Bath and Body Works, though, that's hard because a lot of those are in a mall and they have shut down malls. So,
Not completely. They more shut down the food courts and whatnot. But stores like that, if they can remain open, should remain open because they have soaps, shampoos, hand sanitizers, stuff like that. That help
yeah,
keep us
like
clean and combat
stores
diseases.
that have that stuff, I think, are helpful to be open. Same with, like, car places, auto body, you're going to need stuff like that. Um,
But I tried to tell
but
someone to tell their loved one who had some heart issues, try to stock up on some of their prescription meds. She's like, well, they can't just buy them out. But here's the thing. When China starts to find more cases, they're going to shut stuff down. And as everything's coming in, a lot of stuff is stuck in customs right now. Ammo, boots, whatever that comes made in China. A lot of our medicine comes from China and India. And if that's just stuck in customs, the pharmacy might run out of your heart medication. So
right.
I would suggest, if you can, ask your doctor to give you a script for emergency, to have extra for an emergency. Tell them that
Like,
in this uncertain time, you're afraid of being stuck in your home for a long period of time. You would like to have some extra of your necessary medication on hand.
I'm,
You what?
I just ordered something from Australia, and from what I was told, it's going to take a while to get to me.
Yep. And here's the thing. I'm not worried about getting sick so much as I'm worried about other people.
I mean, I don't particularly want it.
No, I don't either, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm more worried of my chance of other people being panicked about getting this thing, causing me harm, than me actually being exposed and catching it. Because here's the thing. Even if it's, let's say, 10 times the amount that's confirmed in the U.S., and I'll go ahead and Google right now, U.S. confirmed coronavirus cases, we're now up to 300,000 worldwide.
Okay.
More than 30,000 in the U.S. Okay. There's 330 million Americans. Okay. 330,000 would be 10%. So we're at about 3% infection. Okay. That means I have a 97% chance of not even coming in contact with anyone that has it. Or so if they've been near. Now, I understand, even if it's, let's say, 10 times, that means I still have a 90% chance of not even catching it. The cough I have right now is like my stomach stuff, so I know I'm not sick. But here's the thing.
Right.
With those being the chances, I have a much higher chance of something happening because somebody is panicky and starts a fight in a supermarket and I get caught up in it than catching this disease. Not that I want to catch it, but you get where, you got to make your priorities based on statistics. You can only make a couple of decisions. You can't control everything, so best to go with the most likely option.
Right.
And I always told people that the way that this stuff would spread would be through people who cannot afford to miss work. And people coming to work sick. And guess who they're telling people to stay, who they're telling have to stay home and who they keep shutting down first? All the people that can't afford to miss work.
Yeah.
So, but they aren't passing anything to say, hey, everyone's... Because here's the thing. If we had legally mandated sick days where people, if they feel ill, they can go home or or workplaces have to accept doctor's notes on a federal level to require them to accept that if you're sick and get a doctor's note, they can't fire you, then I have a feeling a lot of these infections would not have happened. Because people would have felt a little ill, they would have gone and gotten a doctor's note, stayed home.
Right.
For as long as they needed to.
And I agree. Because it's mostly, especially with them shutting down these restaurants, like I know a lot of people who work in that sector of the field who, weren't feeling the greatest, but still tuckered through work because they were afraid of being laid off because they weren't getting time, paid leave or anything.
And a lot of these places like Cracker Barrel and that, if you call into work because you're sick, you get written up for the first day of being sick and 3 write-ups, and you get fired.
Like, I was told Hobby Lobby is actually refusing to shut down.
Yeah, they're telling their employees to pray.
Yeah. I mean, in one hand, they're making money because, people are bored and actually buying crafting supplies now. But on the other hand, I'm like, why are you guys open?
Because they're an extremely religious company that believes God will protect them from this thing that he would have also had to create it.
Right.
There's a lot of religious fervor going around right now about this whole thing. Some people saying it's God's punishment. I've got so many saying that we just need to repent and God will take this plague away from us. This is punishment. We just need to pray and repent and turn back to God and this will be over. So a lot of people think that this is either judgment, the end of days, or whatever.
I think a lot of people who aren't religious do think it's end of days as well.
And the problem with that is, by everyone thinking that way, they could inadvertently cause that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, with me and my significant other, we're just trying to remote our days, as best as we can. I mean, yeah, it sucks because, the highlight of our days sometimes is literally going to Meyer to get something, but it is what it is right now.
Yeah, it is what it is. I saw a video where someone was in line near their Sam's Club, and the guy was out there telling them what they didn't have. He was saying, no wipes, no toilet paper, no paper towel, no milk, no eggs, no formula, no wipes, not even baby wipes.
I know that some stores, like now that they've changed the hours of Meyer, they're only open 8 to 10 now because the overnight staff, they had to hire a bunch more people to sanitize and stock because they can't keep up with the, um, people buying everything. And Walmart, actually, they're no longer 24/7 either.
Yeah, they shut down our 24/7 stuff, and even still, those trucks are not full.
Right. Like, they can't keep up with the amount of
They can't keep up with
stuff being
demand.
taken. Yeah.
And here's the thing. What people don't understand is, well, the border restrictions are in place. We can't import food and other things from other countries that are like, say, in the southern hemisphere, where we import a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, since they don't grow all year long everywhere. Well, here's the thing. When that stops, all you've got left for making orange juice is that orange juice concentrate that they got to put the flavor back into. And there's only so much of that. And if the farmers can't get around to planting the next crop, now we're going to have food shortages. Because what's going to be happening here, and is happening right now, is people are buying up food faster than we can make it.
Exactly. Like when I went to Meyer today, like they were actually decently stocked, if I want to say, but still it was incredibly full because a lot of people aren't at work, so a lot of people are going to buy groceries and stuff, and it ruins it for everyone because eventually we're going to hit that standstill of there's just not enough food to be replenished.
And here's the thing, they're saying there's plenty of food, there's plenty of food, there's plenty of food. That doesn't mean there's always going to be plenty of food.
Right.
There's plenty in the warehouses and that, but it takes time to grow more chickens, to grow more cows, to grow more wheat, more watermelons, more lettuce. I mean, luckily these days we can grow it all year round with greenhouses and indoor farms and whatnot, but that still only gets you so far.
Right, like right now, with everyone panic buying, like we were able to stock the food before because, people were buying by the week or by the month or whatever. But they weren't buying like this. Like, just to put in perspective, me and my significant other, we just have to buy for each other. Well, in like the 1 to 2 weeks that this has been happening, like, when Michigan decided to go haywire in the span of 2 days, basically, we've already spent between $500 to $600.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if we get through this at some point, though, I will definitely be doing more preparedness stuff. Starting to stock up more canned goods and whatnot that have years of shelf life that I'll use down the line. But in case something like this happens again. Because what would have been great is if, I might lose my job, but hey, I've got everything stocked up and I got a bunch in savings, so I'll be fine. But like most Americans, I've been doing the whole paycheck thing, take out a bunch of credit cards, take out a bunch of loans, be giving all my money to other people and having a bunch of payments, and not stocking up on stuff, so now I have to try to go in with all the panic buying to get what I need, and I gotta get more than I normally would buy because who knows if it's gonna be there.
Yeah, and also what makes me wonder is like, obviously, these checks haven't been distributed. Some people are going on unemployment, but not everyone. Well, eventually, with all these people panic buying, but also all these people who've lost their jobs and whatnot, I mean, they're not going to be able to keep buying and buying. I'm sure it's already affecting people with their money right now.
It is. We've already hit the market's already gone into recession, and here soon anywhere that doesn't. And unfortunately, a lot of these places that have shut down have not decided to also put in protections against being foreclosed on, evicted, or losing your vehicle. So what we're going to end up having is people are going to default on student loans and credit cards, get their cars repoed, be evicted, and have their homes foreclosed on because they lost their jobs due to this virus. I can guarantee you the economic impact of all these shutdowns from this damn virus are going to be 100 to 1,000 times worse than anything this virus has done.
Not to say that we agree at all that people are dying and whatnot. Obviously, we don't. But we see that this economic issue far makes this situation,
People are dying. There's been over 13,000 deaths worldwide. But at the same time, where do we balance out public health and safety with the future of the society? Because we can't deal with a bunch of people dying, not only of coronavirus, but other things due to an overwhelmed medical system, and not to mention all the medical debt, because heaven forbid that we just did this for free because it's a pandemic. That's another thing we should be doing. We should be taking care of anyone with coronavirus for free.
Right.
That should be all pro bono, all free. If the government can take all this money to do a stimulus, they can cover all the treatments for corona and figure it out later. The government should just be funding treatment and tests to make sure everyone can get taken care of. Because here's the thing, by leaving this as a private medical issue, yeah, you're shutting down this, trying to stop the spread, but you're leaving the payment and stuff to people's insurance companies and the people themselves. You're still going to have people that feel sick, but they can't afford to miss work. They don't have insurance. They don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid. They have nothing to help them pay for this stuff. So they're not even going to be able to go in and get tested or treated. One person that came out of treatment recovered, the treatment was $32,000.
For corona, you mean?
Yeah.
How did they get treated?
Because they were ventilator and everything else. When they received the bill, it was $32,000.
Oh my gosh.
So people are going to get bankrupted by that too. And here's the thing.
Right.
We can handle one or the other, but I'm not sure if we can handle both a pandemic level amount of healthcare costs and having the housing market, the student loans, and the credit cards all default at the same time.
That confuses me.
There's over $1 trillion of debt in this country. What happens when none of that gets paid back?
Very true. What I'm confused by is, like, some people are like, oh, like, it's a perfect time to get stocks. They're so low and cheap right now.
Because they think that it'll come back. But you see, when I see small businesses closing their doors for good, people getting laid off for who knows how long, these businesses are not just going to magically come back from not existing, and these people aren't just going to magically get a call from their old boss asking them to come back to work.
Right.
Because the company is going to lose money while they're shut down too, on rents and other things. Landlords are losing money. The thing is, it's a domino effect. Everything's connected. And this is why I was saying in earlier podcasts when we did the thing about the minimum wage, why you can't have an army of all generals, no privates, and right now the privates can't make a living. Right now we're realizing the majority of our people are those low-wage earners, and they're the ones hurting the most. And they're the ones that'll drag down the rest of the economy with their inability to pay for stuff because we paid them so little.
Right. Like, right now, I mean, luckily I have a little bit of savings, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't have as good.
Over 80% of Americans have a shit ton of debt and are living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
I believe that was what I read last time. Around 80% of Americans. So that is
And
Four-fifths.
also, unemployment doesn't even cover all of what you would have made, so that's not,
That depends state to state. Some
yeah,
states it covers more, some states it covers less.
right,
It's not a federal thing. And here's the thing, you can't live on unemployment. It was meant to. The thing is, unemployment, the government does not design programs assuming you're going to be in massive amounts of debt and be living paycheck to paycheck. They assume, and this should be rightly so, but it's not rightly so because people are idiots, but they assume that you will live within your means and have savings. Unemployment is supposed to supplement said savings. Problem is, between low and stagnant wages, increased cost of living, rent, mortgages, you end up having it to where everyone has to take out a bunch of these loans to survive, and then this shit happens and they start to default on those loans. So even with unemployment, they can't make it. So that's the problem we are facing right now. That and the fact that people make $250,000 a year can somehow have $1 million in debt because
yeah,
they couldn't live within their means. It's a combination problem. It's a combination of people can't live within their means and us not having enough and people not being paid enough. At one end, you've got people who make so little there's no way you are making a living and saving stuff unless you are a single person in a very small apartment.
right,
And even then, that depends, because then if you go to Travelers, it's $1,000 a month, and the average take home was what, $1,200.
yeah,
And that doesn't, that math doesn't work. You cannot live within your means at that price point, and those are the only jobs available.
right.
That is, that is just set everyone up for failure.
Like, that's why there's so few people, like, who are our age that live in, where we used to live, in Traverse.
And that's why
Or if
there's a
they do live
constant
there,
labor shortage.
there's people, sometimes they gotta have like 2 or 3 roommates to make it work, or they have to live outside of the city limits. And
Let's
like,
just say, everyone, where we come from, you piled 5 people into a 1-bedroom apartment so you could pay the rent.
yeah, basically.
And that is the state of a lot of places in the country. And that is what makes this even worse.
Like, statistically, they say that your rent should only be 30% of what you make, which is not true for a lot of people.
Most people, it's close to 50 to 60%.
Right. Like, if you don't work, you don't live there, basically, is what,
Yeah, and there's no room for savings. If we could get the cost of housing down, and if we could put some limits on what these cable companies can charge for the high-speed internet, because they charge way too much money for it.
They do. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, internet is not essential. You can go without. And I'm like, in this day and age, with people having to work online and stuff like that, it really is not non-essential at this point.
Well, it kind of depends on where you live, but even a farmer needs internet these days to be able to do business.
Right.
He has satellite internet, which is spotty and is pretty much dial-up, but he has internet. And here's the thing. These days, internet is kind of essential for anyone who lives in large cities. Some older people get away with not having internet, but that's because they're older people and, their jobs and what they're expected to know and be able to do don't revolve around the internet. They can retire and
Right.
just have satellite TV and whatnot and sit and be happy with their puzzles and board games. But the younger you get, the more required the internet becomes.
Right, like when my work went remote, I had to have,
Now,
thankfully,
I will give
the
credit to the
headset that I
company,
got.
to the cable companies for saying that during this, to anyone that has a financial impact because of this, they will give free internet and they will not shut off your service if you can't pay because of the
All of them,
coronavirus.
or
Pretty much all of them said that. They all signed a big announcement
I
resolution.
guess I'll have to ask my old
Mediacom,
coworkers that.
Spectrum. Spectrum's offering free internet to students who can't go to class because of Corona, so they can still do school online.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, So I will give them credit for that. But if they can afford to do that in this emergency situation, you realize they can afford a lot more to charge a lot less.
Another silver lining in this is with everyone, like, even though the schools are shut down, I have been told of some schools still doing drive up for kids' lunches, which has been helping out some needy families. So that is a very good thing that has been happening.
But you see, I can see a lot of this remote schooling and stuff, and this would not be good for kids with IEPs and people like myself who learn better in a classroom environment and can't really do online school that well. But I do see a lot of this remote working and stuff, them seeing all this overhead that they're paying and not even be able to have any people in that building, but hey, we're still getting all this work done remotely. I see a lot of companies moving to a remote only and not even having an actual office anymore.
I'm not entirely sure. Like, with the schooling thing, I personally think that a lot of people are going to realize that this isn't a good solution whatsoever.
No, I'm talking like workplaces.
Well, I mean, it depends because...
And schools are already trying to go completely online. They've been trying to do that for years. Whether it'll
I guess it just depends on where you work at, but like with my workplace, we have a central location. Yes, some people went remote before, but those were tenured people. It's nice having the central location there because then your bosses are there. It's easier to get help from them if you have questions. It's just not the same as if you did it.
I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just saying there's a lot of overhead that can be eliminated by not having a building.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true.
And if they see that as overhead they don't want to take back on, they can say everyone's just going to stay remote because this is cheaper. Remember, companies go by what's the cheapest thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Though I do believe we are seeing a lot of the holes in the way things were run being revealed through this entire ordeal. And who knows, maybe we will come out of this on the other end and be able to make some changes due to what we saw with the response to this thing that will make things better.
Yeah, I just don't think this is going to end anytime soon. Like some schools have announced, oh, we're going to be back like first week of April, and I'm like, no, you're not going to be back.
Now they're saying May, and May's the end of the school year.
Right.
At this point, you're going to have to wonder, you realize they're not going back this year.
Basically.
The school year's over, except for doing stuff online, e-learning.
Yeah.
This isn't going to end anytime soon. They've already said it's going to get worse before it gets better.
I wonder how it'll affect, like, summer classes, I wonder. Still online, maybe?
Yeah, probably. But yeah, no, the thing is, I don't know how this is all going to end. I don't know if it's going to end good. I don't know if it's going to end bad. I've got a bad feeling about this whole thing, but that may just be my anxiety talking.
I mean, right now, nothing too crazy in my area is going down, but I mean, yeah, you never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Yeah, just because your area is good doesn't mean other areas are, though, either.
Right, that's very true. Obviously, California and New York, those are not doing very good.
California is already a hellhole because of stuff, and they were having a ton of crime problems before this, and now with this going on, crime has gone through the roof. And it was already through the roof.
I know my friend who works at, I'm trying to remember, it's like a fishing and hunting store, but they like sell other stuff.
One of those outdoor
stores. It's not Dunham's, but it's like a very outdoorsy
Dick's?
place. Well, no.
Sportsman's Warehouse?
No.
Gander Mountain?
No. It's like specifically a sports related store. Like they have like, I can't remember for the life of me. But basically, his store is completely dead except for they are exponentially selling gun related items to surprisingly a lot of people that know nothing about guns. So that's very scary.
Well, I'm just sitting here with my 700 rounds of 9mm and all over 2,000 rounds of 22 ammo, and saying, "Come at me, bitch."
I think that people are actually getting ready to revolt against the government at this point.
No, people are scared and have a lot of firepower. This is not a good combination. Normally, I'm all for everyone get a gun, but at this particular moment in time, I'd rather you didn't buy a gun. Gives me an advantage when you come after me because I have one. Actually, we have several in my
Yeah.
house.
So we're sorry this turned more gloom than happy,
Gloomed and
but
happy, but with the whole situation, there really is not much cheering up you can do about it. All you can do is give information, let people know what's going on. Um,
yeah.
Everyone, don't give up hope. Hope is a good thing. As long as we have hope, things will stay together. When everyone loses hope,
Yes.
that's when everything truly goes to shit.
I think we are getting close to the end of the podcast, though,
We are, we are
time-wise.
time wise. I mean, we can go a little over if we have to. But what I would say on an ending note is this: be ready to hunker down if you have to. Be safe. If you guys see anything that looks like a riot or someone starting a fight, move the other way. Only go out in crowds when necessary. Stay home unless you have to go out. Try to only go to work and go to other places. Keep your gas tank full in case there's a run on gas stations. Get non-perishable supplies if you can. Don't hoard, but see if you and like a group of friends can get a hold of them in your area so you can distribute them as needed. Try to work together, not against each other. And let's try to come together in this time of crisis.
Yes,
And let's try to keep the rule of law together because none of us want to live in Mad Max.
exactly.
Anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully, things will be getting a little better by then. And be safe out there. Be healthy.
Bye.
Bye.